Hi, my name is Peter. I would like to tell you the story about me and my brother Sam. It's a story about our awkward relationship. I think it's important to tell you, and I hope you'll understand why. Sam is 9 years older than me, and we are different. And it's not just because of our age. My older brother always had zillions of friends, and I'm not a reclusive, but I've only ever had a few friends, and I don't need any more. But there is one thing in common that unites Sam and I. We were both never that close with our parents. This situation somehow just developed that way, and we never thought that there was something wrong with it. I bet 100 to 1 that some of you will say that we grew up in a toxic atmosphere. But I don't think so. I can't say that my parents are wonderful people, but I wouldn't call them bad either. You see, the thing is that all of us, my father, my mother, my brother, and I, are pretty closed off people, not used to sharing their problems with the rest of the world. Once, my father had serious problems at work and we were left with no money, not even to live on. But he overcame these problems without even saying a word. My mother finally found out, and there was a huge fight. Nobody can match my mother in the art of the argument. But not because she is evil, oh no. She just has a very hot temper. And she was always very strict with my father. I think she wanted more from him than he was able to offer her. However, these types of arguments between our parents rarely happened, and it was always clean and cozy in our house, and we had all of our meals together at one table, but there was never much small talk during these dinners. Maybe it was because seeing conflict between our parents was unbearable. One argument happened because of Sam's education. He decided not to enroll in college after high school. He saw his future in the service sector and wanted to start getting real job experience as soon as possible. Our father approved of his idea. He liked the concept of moving towards success through labor, especially considering that the college tuition would have seriously affected the family budget. But my mother? Oh, you can't even imagine how my mother reacted. She refused to speak to Sam, dwelling on the thought that he had just fallen under the influence of his father. A hopeless loser, as she said, who wanted to also ruin his children's lives. That, more or less, was the way every conflict started, and as a result, they did a lot of bad-mouthing each other. My mother would yell that he destroyed her life, my father would reply that she had eaten him alive. Sometimes they went as far as accusing each other of cheating. I preferred not to take any of this seriously. I tried to sort of switch them off, though it was pretty hard to not hear your parents screaming about how they hate each other. Sam, I think, took these incidents a bit lighter, especially when he grew up, started to earn his own money, and could have left the house if he wanted to. I was envious of his maturity and freedom. Well, I would be forced to grow up soon enough. I was 14 when it happened. The evening was pretty ordinary, except for the news that our grandmother from Paris would be visiting us. And you ought to know that she is a very eccentric person, and even a family visit comes as quite a surprise. First of all, Granny hates Parisian taxi drivers, considering them shameless crooks. Taxis in America were also blacklisted for some unknown reason, so she insisted that my father pick her up from the airport. Second, she tells us she's visiting once she has literally already boarded the plane. At that day, my father was particularly upset about the odds of having to go to the airport to pick his mother-in-law up. He had had a really exhausting day at work. Sam could have saved the day, but he had been drinking at a bar, so he could not drive, which meant my father had to go. He was very, very annoyed, and he was being super open with my mother about the fact that he had to spend his scarce time off to deal with her mother's quirks. My mother started to boil. A new argument was brewing. Sam gave up and went to his room. I went upstairs to my bedroom. I saw from the window that my mother and father were walking to the car together. It seemed like they had arrived at a compromise, but both were still really angry and were arguing as they walked. I did not want to hear it, so I closed the window and went to bed. At about 3 a.m., I was awoken by the sound of a phone call in the next room, Sam's room. When I entered, I saw him sitting on his bed, burying his face in his hands. It was a loss of control. You know, it happens. If a driver is tired, like our father was, or if something distracts a driver from the road, like for example, an argument with somebody in the passenger seat. If you are watching my story, just remember, These things can end up badly. My mother and father did not survive the accident. It is hard to describe the feeling when you find out that your parents are gone. Yesterday, everything was, well, far from ideal, but it was. And now it's all ruined, and nothing will be like it used to be. And also the feeling of loneliness, which comes after the shock and grief are gone. Now I am 16 and I've been an orphan for 2 years already, and I'm just now able to share my emotions with those who are luckier than me. It was good that Grandma was with us at the moment. She helped us figure out all the formalities, she organized the funeral and paid all the expenses. She even helped us get insurance money, which allowed Sam and I some money to live on for a while. But then, Granny said that her help to her beloved grandchildren was over. She could not take us back to her tiny apartment in Paris, and she did not want to move to the United States. So she said, au revoir, and flew back to France. And I thought that I'd gotten seriously stuck. The last thing I expected was for Sam to go through the motions and arrange for guardianship of me. But that was exactly what he did. He had a job and earned a small but steady income, and I was grown up enough to live with my older brother by that time. All the formalities were settled, but this was only the beginning of our problems. The first problem we encountered was that Sam could not afford our parents' house, so we moved to a cheap apartment with 2 tiny bedrooms, separated by a wall so thin that even a simple nail could break through it. Now, my brother and I had to live much closer to each other than we were used to or wanted. The 9 years is not such a big difference in age, but we always took very little interest in each other's lives. We had never even gone to the movies together, and we did not have mutual friends that could bring us at least a little bit closer. So, locked together in this tiny apartment, we started to annoy each other. But there were also more basic problems. For instance, Sam refused to take part in any housekeeping duties. Oh gosh, how mad I would get that he had just left it all for me, with the excuse that he earned the money for both of us. I had to wash my clothes and his, I had to clean the apartment, and I even had to learn to cook. My mother kept the house neat but never taught us anything about an independent life. So at the beginning I felt clumsy and helpless, but honestly, it was just little things. There was something much worse. You see, I don't have many friends, especially ones that I would invite to visit. But if Sam came home from work and saw any of them, he did not even try to hide the fact that he was annoyed. He didn't want to see high school kids at his house when he wanted to come home and relax after a hard work day. So I stopped inviting friends to our house altogether. But that was not fair, because Sam invited friends at any time, even at night. And every time when he threw a party in our apartment, he asked me to go and take a walk. Finally, I got fed up with that, and I decided not to come back home at the agreed upon time. I did not pick up the phone when Sam called, and it made me happy to think that he was worried. But not because I wanted him to care about me, it was my revenge against Sam for all his behavior. I did not have any money, so I just hung around the city all night, hiding from the police patrols. But Sam finally found me. It was already late morning. I saw his red, tired eyes and realized that he had been looking for me all night long, driving his used car. Later on, I accidentally found out that he skipped his shift that morning and nearly got fired. Neither of us apologized for that night. In fact, we've never talked about it. But since then, we both did not object to any visitors at the house. But Sam's friends did not forget how I framed my older brother, and they disliked me. They started to joke and even made fun of me when Sam was not looking. They never took it too far, so I did not tell Sam about them, but it was unpleasant to listen to mean jokes from adult guys. I could have probably asked Sam to talk to them, but I did not want to tell him about my problems. The only person from my brother's circle who was kind to me was his girlfriend, Jane. She was 20 years old and she was very nice and pretty. I sincerely could not understand the reason why she was dating my ill-tempered brother. I realized that Jane felt pity for me, but I still felt flattered by her attention. When she came home before Sam had returned from work, she would talk to me, and it felt so easy to communicate with her. I did not feel like she was older than me. One day I realized that I had never talked to anybody else as openly as I did with Jane. I started to envy Sam, that he had such a wonderful girlfriend. And then I made a big mistake. Once, Jane came home before Sam, like most other ordinary days. We chatted and ate ice cream, and Jane was very nice to me in a special way. She touched my hand every now and then, and And then she said that I had an ice cream mustache and brushed it away with her finger, laughing so sweetly. Well, I tried to kiss her. I do not know what I was thinking about trying to kiss my brother's girlfriend, but I almost did it. And what happened next literally destroyed me. It looked like the devil had suddenly possessed Jane. She slapped my face, she screamed, and then she called Sam in her cell and, crying, started to ask him to come home as soon as possible. But my brother was already nearby and was there within a minute. And then Jane accused me of harassing her. Can you imagine? She cried and repeated that I had attacked her, but it was a lie. I was shocked, but Jane's next words finished me. Crying on, she demanded that Sam get rid of the juvenile delinquent in this house. And then I understood that all Jane's kindness with me was a lie. She was just looking for a way to get rid of me. I had heard many times that she would like to move in with Sam if they had the opportunity. I left the apartment and rushed down the stairs, but I only managed to reach the nearby bench because I burst into tears. Because of the resentment toward Jane, because I detested myself, because the world was an incredibly unfair place. I got myself together when Sam sat near me and put a Coke in my hands. He kept silent for a while, and then he said calmly and easily that he did not believe Jane, and that we would not see her again. I am not sure, but maybe for the first time since I was a kid, I hugged my brother, and I understood with shame and happiness how wrong I was about him. There is nobody else I trust in this unfair world apart from Sam, my brother.